Hi, this is a demonstration of a GlovePIE script for Comanche Gold. It works with PPJoy. That is the virtual stick, throttle, and pedals. So first off, you will see that with collective, I get a kind of differential yaw. With pedal, I get a little bit of torque change. I have 3 flight modes, or flight control laws, I guess you could say. It's controlled by a little rotary on the throttle that is detecting 3 positions. In the aft position, it is the default wings leveling position. Hand off, it levels back. Push forward, hand off, levels back. So this is the default one that Comanche has. Obviously, Comanche Gold has limited authority in terms of how far you can bank and pitch, but that's part of the sim. It's kind of the nap of the earth Comanche flight law and the emergency flight law it had. In the middle position on this little rotary is an attitude hold mode, so I push forward, let go, and it holds it. Bank a little, let go, holds it. So this is similar to what I use in Enemy Engage and DCS Black Shark. And this is the normal yaw on the pedals. And then forward, fully on this little rotary, is what I'm calling the cruise mode. And it attitude holds in the pitch. I push it and it holds it. My hand is off. Pull back, hold. Hand is off. So I'm not having to manually trim it with a hat or pushing a trimmer button. Now, banking is a roll with a counter yaw, so I can do more of a side slip, even though Comanche Gold is applying a coordinated turn above 50 knots. In fact, once coordinated turn switches on in Comanche Gold, it doesn't turn off until you get below 30 knots, which is kind of nice and interesting. Pretty sophisticated coordinated turning, if you ask me. Comparable in some ways to Longbow 2's coordinated turning. Now, the pedals I have as a coordinated turn, speaking of coordinated turning, it's the yaw with a little bit of the conventional roll added in. So that's left pedal, and that's right pedal with my hands off. I could, of course, assign that to the twist if I wanted to. Okay, so that's the differential yaw, the collective torque with yaw, the 3 flight modes. So I also have this kind of very crude VRS, and it uses the PPJoy virtual joystick kind of position in the lateral space, the X and Y. And it's got some smoothing functions and some other stuff going on. So it doesn't really know the airflow inside the sim across the main rotor or the indicated airspeed or anything like that. So it's dumb, but it's fairly effective. It's not perfect, but so I'll induce it, and the most simple way to get out of a VRS is to drop the collective and fly out of it. Okay? And if I just move it really fast, the collective is not going to trigger. It has to be a kind of extended length and sufficient magnitude. So I'm going to move it really fast, and you'll see that it won't trigger. In small increments, move very fast. If I do a large increment over a large amount of time,
lift.
It tells me that I've lost lift. That's the GlovePIE script. And now, with collective up, I'm raising it, I'm trying to fly out. And it's hard. I'm pushing forward, pushing back, pushing to the left. Now if I lower the collective and push forward on the cyclic, I can fly out of it. That, however, causes a huge reduction in altitude. So it's not quite optimal. Now, you have some cyclic authority to the right, though, because it's an American helicopter. And so you preserve some cyclic opposite the power pedal. So what I can do is, even with pulling the collective up, I can actually go max torque, power pedal, which is left pedal in an American helicopter with a tail rotor, and right cyclic, and I can escape immediately. They call this the Bouchard recovery technique, after this Claude Bouchard. So I'm going to demonstrate that. I did some kind of weird stuff with the script and managed to find a way to do this. So first I'm going to try and escape with forward, back, and left on the cyclic and see if any of that works with a high collective, and you'll see that it won't. So I'll trigger the VRS, get my lateral PP joy position, my lateral movement down, the guessed lateral movement is what it is, and drop the collective.
Lift.
I raise the collective, and I'm trying to move out, aft, forward, left, but let's try full collective, left power pedal, right cyclic, and boom. Now I talked through that, so I took up a lot of time. I'm going to do it again really fast here.
Lift.
So immediately you can escape using that technique. It's pretty cool. I'll try it again.
Lift.
So I could actually do that very close to the ground and I'd be okay. Now you can also get the VRS, the vortex ring state, crude vortex ring state that occurs with this GlovePIE script. You can get it to turn off by dropping the collective to 0, which mimics forcing a kind of auto-rotation state. Lowering the collective increases cyclic authority anyway, which you reduce cyclic authority when you're in a VRS. But if you drop the collective to minimum or you disengage the rotor, in real life you can get the ring state to stop. Of course, you're dropping like a rock in the meantime, so. But the ability with this script to drop the collective momentarily, actually I think you have to hold it for a whole second at least, on minimum collective, is also useful if you accidentally trigger this VRS thing when you're on the ground. So I'm getting pretty low. Now I'll trigger another one of these by coming in and trying to stop really fast. Oh, I just scraped my gear. Sorry about that. Let me try that again.
lift,
Okay. I escaped it. And that was just caused from trying to decelerate really rapidly. Let's try that again. Trying to stop right in front of the hill. In a combat situation, the last thing you want to do is fly into it. And I didn't quite trigger at that time. But the idea of dropping the collective and forward cyclic in order to stop a VRS if you're right in front of a mountain is not going to be helpful. So using this lateral movement makes a lot more sense.
lift,
Well, I scraped the gear a little bit, but I still escaped the VRS. Let's try it over here. Oh,
Fantail
getting careless. Sorry
damage.
about that.
lift, lift,
I'm going to wobble probably a little bit because of this damaged fantail, but looks like I have some reduced yaw authority now because of the damaged tail rotor. Trying to find a hill.
lift,
See? Works really well. It's not perfect. I mean, triggering it is certainly the dumbest part of the script in terms of it's really ignorant about your true airflow over the rotor and your indicated airspeed. It doesn't know that. But once it triggers, the escape techniques you use are fairly faithful. I didn't quite trigger at that time. You certainly wouldn't want to do this in real life. Practicing not running into a mountain by intentionally inducing a VRS.
lift,
Main rotor failure.
Like that.
Fantail
You wouldn't want to do
failure.
that.
Cannon failure.
Okay, I'm going to restart it real quick.
lift, lift, lift,
Gear is down.
Interestingly, when you use 1280 by 1024 in Comanche Gold, it still wants to run the sim in 4:3 aspect ratio, like a TV screen.
lift, lift,
That was not
Cannon
successful.
damaged.
And as a result of that, the fact that instead of being 1 1/3, 1.33333 ratio, 1280 by 1024 is actually 1.25. And so it's cropping the top and bottom slightly in this highest resolution mode it supports, which by the way is not easy to get it working. You have to use something like DG Voodoo to sort of reprocess the graphics, the voxel graphics, into a DirectX mode. But if you do get it, you're going to get the top and bottom cropped, so it's like actually 1280 by 960 is the resolution it's displaying. Of course, this I'm scaling in DG Voodoo further to, I believe it's 1440 by 1080. That's just to fit the screen, since the resolution of the monitor, it's a 1080 monitor, and I have Wirecast set at 1080.
Lift.
Got it. So I had the attitude hold mode on when I did that, so it was kind of hard to stop on a dime just right and get the GlovePIE lateral thing it's tracking to be just right in that little narrow range in the middle. It's easier when you're in the wings level mode, the default flight control mode that Comanche uses. Like right now, it thinks it's centered, even though there's, like right now, there's 25 knots. Take my hand off it, I can
Lift.
still cause it to trigger. Fouchard maneuver. Fouchard recovery technique. It's pretty awesome. But I think pretty frequently in combat helo sims I've used lateral movement to escape VRS, like in DCS, like in Enemy Engaged, and even in X-Plane that has VRS for quite a few versions. And I think that was just because of the habit of often stopping on a dime right in front of a mountain or in front of a building that I was using for cover, and so I just didn't want to run into them. And it turns out that in real life there is quite a lot of utility to that, and you don't even have to necessarily drop the collective to regain cyclic authority. You just have to know your power pedal, use the cyclic opposite the power pedal, and add collective. And this works for tail rotor helicopters, not for coaxials. Coaxials, I believe that you actually do have to do some pretty extreme lateral or forward movement to get out. I think sometimes people have even said you might have to do rear cyclic. You know, DCS's escape for the Black Shark is pretty simplistic. You certainly do not lose cyclic authority when you're in VRS. Possibly reducing cyclic authority until you lower collective and doing the opposite pedal power or cyclic direction, leaving that as some cyclic authority to do a sort of Fouchard maneuver in enemy engaged might be something we can code later. Right now in enemy engaged I've just been reducing the range of my collective so I can't power out with 120% torque all the time, regardless of what I do. And that seems to be pretty effective in increasing realism. Okay, well, I think I'll try one more here with my damaged cannon. You can see it's turned yellow.
Lift, lift. lift,
Alrighty. Exit now. We never even got a good shot of the Comanche in this, did we? Alright, thanks for watching.